Do you believe in miracles? If you've experienced something unexplainable, comment below. This story will show you that sometimes the impossible happens right in front of us. The Sunday afternoon in the park was especially busy. David pushed his son Leo's wheelchair among the leafy trees, watching other families play on the playgrounds. The contrast deeply pained him. At 45, he had achieved everything money could buy, but he couldn't give his 8-year-old son his legs back. Leo pointed to a group of pigeons pecking crumbs on the ground. His brown eyes sparkled with the same curiosity as any child, but David saw a sadness there that no expensive toy could erase. Since the accident 4 years ago, every outing was a cruel reminder of everything his son had lost. "Daddy, can I feed the pigeons?" Leo asked, holding a pack of cookies. "Of course, son." David forced a smile, stopping the chair near a bench. It was then that a child's voice interrupted them. "Give me food, and I will heal your son." David turned abruptly. Before them stood a thin boy of about 7, with ragged clothes and bare feet. His brown hair was messy, but his eyes held a disturbing intensity for someone so young. "What did you say?" David frowned, instinctively pulling Leo's chair closer. "Your son can't walk," the boy said, pointing directly at Leo. "I can make him walk again. I just need food." David felt a mix of irritation and disbelief. Just another con artist, taking advantage of his pain, he thought. But there was something different about this child. He wasn't asking for money, not begging with rehearsed tears, simply stating something impossible with the naturalness of someone talking about the weather. "My name is John," the boy continued, approaching the chair. "I know you don't believe me. No one believes at first." Leo leaned forward, fascinated. "Can you really make me walk, John?" "Don't listen to that," David said firmly, but his voice betrayed a flicker of hope he had tried to suppress. "For years." John smiled at Leo, completely ignoring his father's distrust. "Do you like soccer? When you can walk, I'll teach you to kick the ball really hard." "I loved playing ball before the accident," Leo whispered, his eyes filling with tears of longing. David felt his heart ache. How many times had he fallen for empty promises from alternative doctors, healers, and charlatans? His wallet was always open to any possibility, no matter how remote. But a street child making this offer was absurd. "Listen, kid," David began, trying to sound gentle but firm. "I know you're hungry, and I can help you with that. But don't play with false hopes." "I'm not playing," John replied seriously. "My mom taught me before she died. She said the gift only works when you truly care about the person." Something in the simplicity of those words hit David like a punch to the gut. He looked at Leo, who was watching John with a mixture of hope and admiration he hadn't seen in a long time. "Please, Dad." Leo held his father's hand. "He seems different." David remained silent for long seconds, fighting an internal battle between skepticism and despair. Finally, he sighed deeply. "All right, let's go get some lunch." The restaurant was quiet. Only the discreet sound of cutlery touching plates echoed through the room. David watched John devour the plate of food with desperate hunger, while Leo played distractedly with his sandwich, still processing the street boy's impossible words. "When was the last time you ate?" David asked, feeling a tightness in his chest as he saw the voracity with which John ate. "The day before yesterday," John replied between bites. "I found some leftovers in a trash can near the market." The answer hit David like a slap to his conscience. While he wasted fortunes on useless treatments, that child fought daily for basic survival. Leo stopped eating and pushed half of his sandwich towards John. "You can have mine too." "I'm not very hungry." David felt his eyes well up. Even confined to a wheelchair, his son still showed a compassion he himself had lost over years of bitterness. "Thank you." John smiled genuinely at Leo. "You're really nice." Leo's smile lit up his face in a way David hadn't seen in a long time. For a moment, he forgot about the impossible promises and simply watched his son being a child again. "John," David leaned forward, "where do you sleep?" "In different places. Sometimes under the bank's awning, Other times in the space, under the overpass. It depends on where the police don't bother me. And your family? John's face darkened. My mum died 2 years ago. She got very sick and didn't have money for a doctor. Before she died, she told me about the gift our family has carried for generations. David frowned. What kind of gift? My great-grandmother healed people in the rural areas. My mother also had the power, but she only used it when she really needed to help someone. She said the gift doesn't work for money or glory. It only works when it comes from the heart. And your father? I never met him. My mum said he left when he found out she was pregnant. David felt a strange connection to the boy's pain. He also knew the feeling of loss, of carrying an impossible burden alone. Leo has been in a wheelchair for 4 years, David began, surprised by his own openness. We were coming back from a family trip. My wife Mary was driving. I was in the passenger seat discussing work on the phone. It was raining heavily. Leo lowered his eyes, knowing that painful story well. A truck ran a red light and hit our right side where Leo was sitting. Mary died instantly. Leo was in a coma for 3 months, and when he woke up, David's voice faltered. The doctors said he would never walk again. John stopped eating and looked directly into David's eyes. You blame yourself for her death and his accident. It wasn't a question. It was an affirmation that cut David like a sharp blade. I should have insisted on driving. I should have turned off my phone. I should have protected my family. My mom told me that some things happen because they need to happen, John said softly. She said that pain is sometimes the path to something greater. I can't see anything greater in this, David replied bitterly. I only see a boy who will never run, play ball, or live a normal life again. I'm going to walk again, Daddy, Leo said determinedly, surprising them both. I believe in John. David looked at his son, seeing in him a strength he hadn't perceived in years. Perhaps hope, even if unfounded, was better than the resignation that consumed his soul. John, David finally said, if you really have this gift, why don't you heal other people? Why do you live on the streets? Because the gift chooses when and whom to heal. I don't decide. When I saw you in the park, something inside me said it was the right time. David remained silent, torn between skepticism and a dangerous hope that was beginning to be reborn in his wounded heart. After lunch, David decided to take John and Leo home. The mansion impressed the street boy, but not in the way David expected. John showed no greed or excessive admiration, just a silent curiosity, as if he were evaluating something beyond the visible luxury. Mrs. Rose will prepare a bath for you, David said as they entered the main living area. Mrs. Rose, the 60-year-old housekeeper who had taken care of the family since before Leo's. Berth looked at John with a mixture of surprise and maternal compassion. Her protective instincts made her immediately accept the child's presence. Come, dear, she said gently. I'll get some of Leo's clothes for you. While John was bathing, David called Dr. Henry Black, the neurologist who had been treating Leo for 4 years. The conversation was brief and predictable. There was no medical possibility of reversing the condition. David, I know it's hard to accept, but you need to stop looking for miracles. Leo needs you present in his reality, the doctor said, with the patience of someone who had repeated those words many times. When John came down to the living room, clean and wearing proper clothes, he looked like a completely different child. His brown hair shone after the bath, and his eyes still held that peculiar intensity that had caught David's attention in the park. Can I see Leo's room? John asked. Of course, Leo replied excitedly. I want to show you my games. David accompanied them, observing the natural interaction between the two boys. In the room, John completely ignored the expensive toys and state-of-the-art equipment. His attention turned entirely to Leo. Can I touch your legs? John asked seriously. David felt his heart race. John, I don't know. It's okay, Dad, Leo interrupted. I want to try. John knelt beside the wheelchair and placed his small hands on Leo's immobile legs. He closed his eyes and remained in absolute silence for a few minutes. David watched every movement, torn between hope and skepticism. Nothing happened in the first moments. Then suddenly Leo cried out, "Dad, I'm feeling something!" David approached quickly. "What are you feeling?" "Tingling in both legs, as if they're waking up." Leo was visibly emotional, tears streaming down his face. David knelt and touched his son's legs. They were slightly warmer than usual. Impossible, he thought. It must be suggestion, a psychological effect. John opened his eyes, looking exhausted. It's just the beginning. His body needs to remember little by little. "Leo, move your toes," David asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Leo concentrated intensely. For long seconds, nothing happened. Then, almost imperceptibly, his right big toe moved slightly. David felt the world spin. In 4 years, no movement had been recorded. Nothing. And now, "I did it. Dad, did you see? I moved it." Leo cried with joy. David couldn't process what he was seeing. He grabbed his cell phone with trembling hands and called Dr. Black. "Doctor, you need to come here now." Leo moved his toe. "David, that's impossible. You must have imagined it." "He moved it. I saw it with my own eyes." An hour later, Dr. Black arrived with his portable equipment. Neurological exams showed electrical activity in Leo's legs, minimal but present, something that hadn't existed since the accident. "This makes no medical sense," the doctor murmured, checking the results for the third time. The spinal cord injury was complete. "There's no scientific explanation for this recovery." John was sitting in the corner of the room, observing everything in silence. When Dr. Black approached him, the boy simply said, "Some things cannot be explained by science. My mom taught me that." David looked at John with a mixture of gratitude and awe. If this was real, if it was really happening, his whole life would need to be rethought. Have you ever felt that something greater was acting in your life? If you believe in the power of faith, comment hope below. That night, for the first time in 4 years, David slept with true hope in his heart. 3 days had passed since Leo's first sign of improvement. David had insisted that John stay in the mansion, preparing a guest room for the boy. During that period, he observed with fascination how John interacted with his son, always gentle, never promising more than he could deliver, but maintaining unwavering confidence in the healing process. On Thursday morning, while Leo was doing physical therapy exercises with increasingly noticeable movements in his feet, David found John in the garden, observing the rose bushes that Mary had planted years ago. "Your mom liked flowers?" John asked, delicately touching a red rose. "How do you know she planted those roses?" David approached, intrigued. "I can still feel her love here. People who love deeply leave a special energy in places." David sat on the marble bench beside John. It was the first time in 4 years he could be in that garden without feeling unbearable pain. "John, I need to understand more about you, about this gift you say you have." The boy remained silent for a few moments, as if carefully choosing his words. "My great-grandmother's name was Maria. She lived on a farm in a rural area in the 1940s. People came from distant towns for her to heal their ailments, fevers, pains, even paralysis." David paid attention to every word. "She never charged anything, but she always asked for something in return. A plate of food, a place to sleep, a gesture of kindness. She said the gift didn't work through money, but through love." "And your mother?" "My mom's name was Lucy. She ran away from the farm at 16 because she didn't want to carry that responsibility. She came to the big city, met my dad, but he abandoned her when he found out about her gift. He said it was the devil's work." John picked up a small rose that had fallen to the ground. "When I was born, my mom tried to live a normal life. She worked as a cleaner in downtown offices, but when I turned 4, I started showing the same signs she had in childhood." "What kind of signs?" "I knew when people were sick just by looking at them. I could feel others' pain as if it were my own. Once I touched a boy's broken arm at the orphanage, and he healed in 2 days. David felt a shiver run down his spine. My mom got scared. She knew that if people found out, they would want to use the gift to make money, or they would persecute us out of fear. So she taught me the rules my great-grandmother had taught her. Which rules? First rule, never charge money for the gift. Second rule, only use it when you truly care about the person. Third rule, accept that the gift won't always work because it has its own wisdom. John looked directly into David's eyes. When my mom died of pneumonia 2 years ago, I was alone. I tried to use the gift to save her, but it didn't work. She told me before she died that maybe her gift had passed completely to me, and that's why she couldn't heal herself. How did you survive alone on the streets all these years? At first it was very difficult, but whenever I found someone truly needy, I helped. Once I cured an old man's arthritis who gave me food. Another time, I helped a woman who couldn't get pregnant for 10 years. David was impressed by the maturity of that 7-year-old child. Why did you decide to approach me in the park? What did you see in us? John smiled sadly. I saw the same pain I felt when my mom died. You carry a lot of guilt, and Leo carries the sadness of feeling different. You both are stuck in the past, just like I was. And now we're learning together that bad things sometimes happen to teach us something important. My mom always said that God uses broken people to heal other broken people. David felt tears streaming down his face. For the first time since the accident, they weren't tears of pain, but of understanding. 2 weeks had passed since John's arrival at the mansion. Leo's progress was undeniable. In addition to moving his toes, he could now slightly bend his knees and felt constant tingling in his legs. Dr. Black visited the house daily, documenting every small advance with a mixture of scientific fascination and disbelief. In the morning, I want to try taking a few steps, Leo announced during breakfast, his eyes shining with determination. David felt his heart race. Son, maybe it's too early. It's not too early, John interrupted gently. He's ready. I can feel it. Mrs. Rose prepared the main living room, moving furniture to create a safe space. David positioned cushions on the floor as a precaution, while John helped Leo transfer from his wheelchair to a regular chair. Do you remember what it was like to walk? John asked, placing his hands on Leo's thighs. I remember. Leo closed his eyes, concentrating. I remember running in the park with Mom, playing soccer in the backyard. David watched John repeat the same ritual as the previous days. Hands on Leo's legs, eyes closed, absolute silence. But this time, something different happened. A sensation of warmth filled the entire room, as if an invisible energy circulated between them. Now, John whispered. Leo opened his eyes, and with a determination that surprised everyone, pushed himself up from the arms of the chair and stood. His legs trembled, but they supported his weight. My God, David murmured, tears streaming down his face. Daddy, I'm standing, I'm really standing, Leo cried with joy. Mrs. Rose covered her face with her hands, emotional. John remained by Leo's side, ready to support him if necessary. Now, a small step, John encouraged. Leo hesitantly lifted his right foot. For a moment that seemed eternal. He remained balanced on one leg. Then he put his foot on the floor in front of him and repeated the movement with his left leg. One step, then another, and another. Leo is walking, David said in a low voice, as if speaking the words aloud could break the spell. After 5 wavering steps, Leo stopped and looked at his father. I did it, Daddy. I walked. David ran to his son and hugged him tightly, both crying uncontrollably. John watched the scene with a serene smile, but David noticed silent tears rolling down the boy's face. John, David approached him. How can I thank you? How can I repay this? You don't need to thank me, you need to do something bigger. What do you mean? John looked out the window where the city stretched to the horizon. There are many children like me on the streets. Children who are hungry, cold, without family. They don't need miracles. They need love and opportunities. David followed John's gaze, and for the first time in years, his heart wasn't focused only on his own pain. Are you suggesting I help these children? I'm suggesting you use your wealth to do the same thing I did for Leo. Give hope to those who have none. At that moment, David understood something fundamental. The true miracle had not only been Leo's physical healing, but the transformation of his own heart. For 4 years, he had focused only on his loss, closing himself off to the suffering of the world around him. "John," David said firmly, "would you like to be my son, officially?" The boy looked at him with surprise. "And what if we create a place together for other street children? A home where they can have food, education, and affection?" John smiled, the first truly happy smile David had seen on the boy's face. "My mom always said that the best families are the ones we choose, not the ones we are born into." Leo, still wobbly but determined, approached the two. "John is going to be my brother if he wants," David replied. "I want to," John said simply. "Have you realized how helping others can heal our own pain? If you've experienced this, comment transformation below." That afternoon, David began making calls to lawyers, social workers, and architects. The Mary's Hope Foundation began to be planned that very day. A year later, life had completely transformed for the Smith family. Leo ran through the courtyard of the Mary's Hope Foundation, playing soccer with other children who now called that place home. His steps were firm and confident, as if he had never spent 4 years in a wheelchair. John, now officially John Smith after the adoption, studied at one of the best schools, but every afternoon he returned to the foundation to help the younger children with their homework. At 8 years old, he had become a natural bridge between adults and newly arrived children from the streets. "Dad, Dr. Black is here for the follow-up appointment," Leo announced, entering David's office. Dr. Henry Black had become not only the family doctor, but also the medical coordinator of the foundation. Leo's case had made him question many of his scientific certainties, but it had also inspired him to dedicate part of his time to social causes. "Leo, your exams are perfect," the doctor said after the consultation. "There's no trace of the previous spinal cord injury. It's as if the accident never happened." David smiled, watching his son demonstrate the soccer exercises he had learned from John. "Doctor, can I ask you a question I've always wanted to ask?" "Of course, David." "As a doctor, how do you explain what happened to Leo?" Dr. Black was thoughtful for a few moments. "You know, David, I've studied medicine for 30 years. I always believed that science could explain everything, but Leo's case taught me that there are forces in the universe that our current understanding cannot measure." He looked out the window, where John was teaching a group of children to plant seedlings in the garden. Perhaps the true miracle was not the neurological healing, but the transformation of love that happened in all of us. "You emerged from bitterness. Leo regained hope, and I learned that medicine goes beyond textbooks." David nodded, observing the constant movement of the foundation. 50 children now lived there, receiving education, food, and medical care. Mrs. Rose had taken over general coordination, and her energy seemed to have rejuvenated with the presence of so many children. That night, during family dinner, John made an unexpected announcement. "Dad, there's something I need to tell you." David and Leo stopped eating, paying attention. "The gift I had, it's not with me anymore." "What do you mean?" David asked, concerned. "Since Leo was completely healed, I can no longer feel people's pain like before. It's as if my mission is complete." Leo looked at his adopted brother with concern. "Are you sad about it?" John smiled serenely. "No, I'm relieved. Carrying the pain of others is too heavy for a child. Now I can just be your brother and help the children at the foundation in other ways." David felt deep gratitude. John had sacrificed his gift to save Leo, and now he could finally live a normal childhood. "Do you know what I learned this year?" David said, looking at his two sons. "The true miracle wasn't the healing of Leo's legs. It was discovering that when we help others, our own pain transforms into purpose. "And what is our purpose now?" Leo asked. "To show other families that there is always hope, even in the most difficult situations." John nodded, remembering his mother Lucy's words. "My mum said that broken people can heal other broken people." I think that's what we're doing here. 3 years had passed since that meeting in the park. The Mary's Hope Foundation had become a national reference in caring for vulnerable children. David had transformed his company into a socially responsible corporation, allocating 60% of its profits to social projects. Leo had become a determined young man who intended to study medicine to help children with disabilities. John had discovered a natural talent for child psychology and dreamed of becoming a therapist. On the wall of David's office, a family photo was next to a framed phrase, "The greatest miracle is not changing what happened to us, but allowing what happened to us to change the world." What did you think of this story of overcoming and faith? Leave your comment, like if you were touched by this message, and follow the channel to receive more inspiring stories like this.